Welcome back to HQ. If you've been following breaking news in the NFL, where the Steelers have agreed that massive new contract with star pass rusher TJ Watt. According to our lead NFL insider, Jonathan Jones, 3 years, $123 million, making him the highest paid non-quarterback in the league, defensive player in the league. He's a 7-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro selection, and was the league's Defensive Player of the Year in 2021. Again, in this particular category of highest paid edge rushers, his 41 flat does best Myles Garrett's $40 million AAV. All right, back here with JJ and BMAC here. So, Jonathan, what more can you tell us about how this TJ Watt deal affects someone, let's say, a Micah Parsons moving forward?
Yeah, because that's really who this impacts more than anyone else in the NFL on earth. It is Micah Parsons, who he's playing on his club option this upcoming year, but let's be clear, he's not going to be playing on that option, which checks in at $24 million this year. He's going to be playing on a long-term contract. It will get done. He wants it done. Jerry Jones wants it done. Every Dallas Cowboys fan, cheerleader, player, staffer wants it done. So what is that going to look like? Well, now that you have Myles Garrett at $40 million per year, you knew that Micah Parsons was going to check in at least I would say that Micah Parsons' average annual value number probably going to start at 41.5, may get up to 42. I don't know that you can go up to a 45 or something like that. Remember when they had Dak Prescott and they waited and he far exceeded the quarterback market. He got 60 when the market was around 55. I don't know that that is going to happen with Micah Parsons, but he will become the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. It is a matter of when. Will it happen before the Cowboys get to Oxnard, California for their annual training camp? Or will it happen while they are there? And then it's a matter of when during training camp, because I believe that Micah Parsons will still participate in meetings. I think he's going to show up. I don't even know if he would hold in, Tommy. I think he would participate in individual drills, perhaps, but not 11 on 11, not the sort of contact where an injury risk starts to heighten necessarily. And that is when we would see Micah Parsons ultimately get that deal done. So is it a matter of days? Could it happen within weeks? Not entirely sure, but Micah Parsons will break TJ Watt's new record. So enjoy it while you can, TJ. It's only happened to you twice in your career, but Micah Parsons will hold that title soon.
Okay, sounds like everything's trending toward that direction, but of course with the Joneses, you never know, obviously. BMAC, when you heard what JJ was talking about here, what are the chances Micah Parsons is worth that 41.5 or more in terms of that AAV?
Sure, just look at his numbers. He's been one of the more consistent defenders in the National Football League since entering into the league years ago. He's improved every element that you would want a defender to improve in on. And without Micah Parsons, the defense is below average. He makes everyone on their defense better, and he harasses every opposing quarterback that he faces off against. So you talked about, is he deserving? You don't even ask that question. All you have to do is go ask Jalen Hurts. Go ask Jaden Daniels. Go ask any quarterback that has faced off against the Dallas Cowboys multiple times while Micah has been there, and ask that said quarterback, is he deserving? They probably would say, no, he ain't deserving of that, so they can move him out of the division because they don't want to see number 11. But this is a guy, look at his numbers. Look, what are we talking about? When you're in the same category, and the first two names that are mentioned is Reggie White and Derek Thomas, you know you're an outlier at your said position, whatever your profession is. I mean, these are great names highlighted by the first two, and he is in that conversation because he's been so dominant. So I second everything JJ just gave us. It's only a matter of time because you don't question if they're going to get a deal done. It's about when. And I think it will happen soon, because when you talk about is he deserving, the numbers tell all of us he's more than deserving of asking for whatever market value he's in.
It's interesting, the trends, and then, we talk about titles of highest paid this and highest paid that and how long they last. And we know with quarterbacks and non-quarterbacks, it hasn't lasted very long because there's these cycles, right, JJ? But we know that Cowboys with Dak and then CD and then now with Micah Parsons moving forward, they like to wait. There's some other teams that like to wait, and then there's other teams that like to get ahead of the curve here. So specifically when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, with Jerry Jones, the tendency is to always wait so long. How does that not then hurt his team at times of trying to give out some of these deals?
I mean, in my opinion, it does. In the opinion of a number of people around the league, it does hurt the Dallas Cowboys. I've been around Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones a number of times at these NFL owners meetings where they talk about it. Actually, it doesn't hurt us. I don't understand the logic behind it, frankly. And so I fully understand, respect, and appreciate the question, Tommy. Like, help us understand why the Dallas Cowboys wait. And then our lead NFL insider is going to explain why. And then you all watching and listening at home be like, oh, okay, I maybe disagree, but thanks for that insight. I don't have it. I can't help you. I don't know why they don't do it, especially with the guys that you know. Right? You know that Micah Parsons is that dude. And I think B-Mac said it so perfectly. When you were in a graphic with a Reggie White, you pay that guy. When you have CeeDee Lamb and there's no one else and you believe that CeeDee Lamb is going to continue to play at that all-pro level, you don't wait around. When you have Dak Prescott, and whatever anybody thinks about Dak Prescott, because I understand he is a polarizing quarterback and figure in the NFL, in large part because he plays for the Dallas Cowboys, right? If he played for, let's say, the Atlanta Falcons, I don't think he would be nearly as polarizing as he is. All that being said, though, when you wait and position yourself in the way that the Cowboys have twice now with Dak, you back yourself into a corner where all of a sudden so many of these teams have a great amount of leverage over the player. That's almost natural and inherent in the NFL, but they have ceded so much leverage to these players. And so they could have made Micah Parsons the highest paid player, non-quarterback in NFL history last year. But because they had waited on Dak and because they had waited on CD, they didn't have the money to do that. And had they done it, it would have cost them about $35 million per year. Now it's going to cost them $41.5, $42. I can't give you an answer on why you wait.
All right, let's get out of the Dallas situation, but let's stay with the pass rushers here. Trey Hendrickson also wants to get paid. I think you've established, of course, that he's not going to get anywhere near what we're seeing with some of these record-breaking deals. But what's the latest you're hearing about him trying to re-up with the Bengals, or what's the latest in the situation with Cincinnati?
Yeah, so this could be a legitimate holdout for Trey Hendrickson and the Cincinnati Bengals. And, he's scheduled to be around $21 million this upcoming season. Obviously, that is half of the guys that we're talking about at the top. But I want to be clear. I don't believe the Cincinnati Bengals, I don't believe the rest of the NFL views Trey Hendrickson, though he does have a number of accolades, though he is an incredible pass rusher, and he has the sack numbers to absolutely back it up. He is not the guy that when you see the Bengals on your schedule for that upcoming Sunday, that on Monday you say, how do we game plan away from Trey Hendrickson? How do we make sure that he doesn't completely wreck our entire offensive game plan? And so because of that, he's not going to approach $40 million a year because of his age. And look, TJ Watt is about the same age as him, but TJ Watt is an absolute animal, right? Myles Garrett is that kind of guy. Micah Parsons is that sort of game wrecker and game changer. And so you're going to talk about a Trey Hendrickson who, frankly and honestly, his number's in the 30s, right? He's an average run stopper and a very great pass rusher. You can call him elite, and certainly, again, the sack numbers right there certainly prove it. But it's going to be a hard negotiation because of the age, because of how he doesn't impact the game like the two guys right there beside him on that graphic. And then lastly, because of the team that he's on. They have devoted a number of resources, as we well know, to the quarterback Joe Burrow, to the wide receivers Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And then there is Trey Hendrickson, 31, 32 years old. This isn't a team that is flush with cash. When you talk about of the 32 NFL teams, the Bengals have among probably the bottom 3, bottom 5 least amount of cash available. So they actually literally don't really have the money like a lot of other teams do. So it's a difficult one to project. I don't know that we're going to see a resolution anytime soon.
Yeah, JJ laid it out perfectly, B-Max. So give me a final thought here with Hendrickson and Cincy.
I don't know what's going on with Cincinnati. I really don't. Trey Hendrickson wanted a deal getting ready for the 2024 season, just like Jamar Chase, right? And he kind of put that aside, became the ultimate professional, not a distraction at all, and just went about his business. And all he did was led the NFL in sacks, right? 17 and a half. So if he wanted a deal in 2024 before being the league leading sacker, what did you expect from him as he got ready for 2025? It's the same thing. So Cincinnati, you know exactly what you needed to do. You needed to pay T. Higgins. Of course, you prioritize offense more so than defense. You paid T. Higgins, right? You took away the franchise tag, and you still knew that Trey wanted a deal. So if you weren't ready to pay him what his market value is, then trade him. We're doing the same thing. And for Cincinnati, for a defense that was in the bottom half in terms of total yards allowed, almost 400 yards, over 340, 350, it was in the bottom half in points allowed, north of 25. You need a guy like Trey Hendrickson because you don't have anything else. And JJ, you're right. He's not the same defender as a Micah Parsons. He's not the same defender as a TJ Watt. But for Cincinnati, he is their Reggie White. He is their Derek Thomas. So when you know how below average your entire defense has been, it's imperative to have a guy like Trey Hendrickson. But I do not see Trey Hendrickson reporting to camp getting the market value that he expects to get because they're paying too much money to T. Higgins. He's almost getting 30 a year. Jamar Chase is getting 40. Joe Burrow is getting, 55? They don't have the funds. If they can go get some monopoly money, it makes sense. But that doesn't happen in the National Football League. But they have made this bed. So for them, they have to sleep in it, even if they have no sheets.
B-Mac, JJ, certainly appreciate it. Got to be tough for a guy like Hendrickson, seeing guys in the division get paid, and then guys even across the locker room on the other side of the ball get paid. All right, this all started, of course, with the news that T.J. Watt was getting paid, and his brother J.J. Watt taking to X/Twitter, earned, deserved, incredible. Our colleague at